A little bit of space.
Welcome to the Mattawan Aberdeen School District's Committee of the Whole meeting on November 8th, 2021. Time is now 6:30 p.m. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey open meeting law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or agreed upon. In accordance with the provision of this act, the Mattawan Aberdeen Regional School District Board of Education advertised this meeting on January 8th, 2021 in the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger. This notice was sent to the municipal clerks of the Borough of Mattawan and the Township of Aberdeen and the Mattawan Aberdeen Public Library. The notice was also placed on the district's website. Ms. Case, can we please have roll call?
Mr. Ahern? Dr. Delaney?
Yes.
Ms. Friedman?
Here.
Ms. Martinez?
Here.
Mr. Montone?
Here.
Ms. Braswar?
Here.
Ms. Whalen?
Here.
Ms. Osborne?
Present.
Mrs. Scully?
Here. Okay, we're going to jump to the board president's report. Hope all of the children and parents had a wonderful Halloween. Just a couple of quick reminders tonight. Strategic planning training session is happening this Wednesday, November 10th at 6:30 p.m. at the high school. You can still go to the district website if you want. The sign-up sheet should still be there. The planning conference weekend to develop the district's vision, goals, and objectives is January 21st and 22nd. You could also sign up on the district webpage. The district continues to be hiring. We're actively looking to hire bus drivers, transportation assistants, lunch and recess aides, custodians, and if you would like more information, again, everything's on the district website. And lastly, there is a Thanksgiving food distribution information available for families in the district. If you go to the website, you can see that. And Mattawan Borough also continues to offer the free meals on Friday evenings at Borough Hall. And with that, we'll move to student services. Ms. Perez?
Good evening, everyone. Under Student Services, under item number 1, we're asking for board approval for the memorandum of agreement between Mattawan Aberdeen Regional High School and CPC Behavioral Healthcare Project Insight Program in regards to the provision of the early intervention substance abuse for students at the high school. This program will be only at the high school through a grant funded coming through the state. It will not be at middle school as of yet. We do recognize that prevention programs are also successful starting at an earlier age when it comes to substance abuse, but as of right now, since it's grant funded, it is through the high school. Under item number 2, we're asking for board approval for the following provider for the remainder of the 21-22 school year to incorporate a holistic approach to provide student wellness and overall healthy habits for the Mattawan Aberdeen Middle School, specific to special ed programs. The providers listed along with the cost. This provider is a replacement for the previous provider that we were using for yoga and wellness at MAMS with our special education programs. The prior provider had moved out of state after COVID reopened those schools. Under item number 3, we're asking for board approval for the following bedside instruction for the following students. The cost is listed along with its effective dates, and that concludes student services.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second to approve student services?
A motion.
I'll second.
Any questions from the board?
I have a comment on one, and I know and I appreciate that you addressed this, Ms. Perez, as to why it's not being offered in the middle school. But I think it's just important that the board and the public recognize that, from what I understand, addiction and these services really started at an earlier age, starting at about 12 is the average first use. Unfortunately, in my line of work, I've seen it start significantly earlier. So it's something I'd like to see if maybe we as a board can pursue other grant funding so we can move it down to MAMS sooner rather than later. But thank you for securing the grant for the high school.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Personnel, Mr. Lehman?
Thank you. Good evening. The Personnel Section A, resignations, retirements. We have one rescission, one retirement, one resignation. Section B, leave of absence. Staff members is listed with their types of leaves, respective effective dates. Section C, appointments. Well, it begins on page 2 of 8. For new hires for the 21-22 school year, there are placeholders listed. We anticipate several of these positions being filled for the November RAM, with others being filled for the December RAM. Moving on to page 3 of 8, under extracurricular activities for the 21-22 school year. Athletic activities, one name is currently listed under athletic activities. Under non-athletic activities, we have staff members that would recommend for spring musical. And then under hourly activities at the bottom of the page, there's one placeholder. On page 4 of 8, item number 3, curriculum instruction is for the federal title grants. Postings that are currently active, we anticipate having names for the board to approve at the next meeting. On page 5 of 8, item number 4, CNI middle school data analysis. Item number 5, CNI elementary school data analysis. Placeholders, we'll have names at the next meeting. Item number 6, for CNI academic support under ESSER funds for the 21-22 school year, also placeholder for the next meeting. Item number 7, CNI thought partners for the thought partner committee for the 21-22 school year. We do have one name listed for the committee. And our item 8, for CNI curriculum writing for the 21-22 school year. This begins on the bottom of page 5 and continues on page 6 of 8. And these are active postings as placeholders with recommendations to come. On page 7 of 8, item number 9, college student observers, one name listed with the cooperating staff member. Item number 10, staff rate changes for the 21-22 school year. Staff members are listed with their overloads and effective dates and reasons. Item number 11, home instruction for 21-22 school year. One student is listed. On page 8 of 8, nothing for volunteers for the moment. Item 13, one name listed under mentor teachers for 21-22 school year. Nothing under number 14. And under item D, other one is the HIB report from the previous board meeting. That concludes personnel.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
I have a comment/question regarding the curriculum placements. I just wanted to ensure that we, I guess, clearly understand the board policy I had moved that was tabled regarding that curriculum. I assume that these will be done in the same process and procedure with each other so that there is direct communication with each other. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, policy, Mr. Lehman.
Under policy, we're asking the board for first reading for the following policies and regulations. Policy and Regulation 1581, Policy 1620, Policy and Regulation 3218, Policy and Regulation 4218, Policy 6115.01, Policy 6115.02, Policy 6115.03, Policy 6311, Policy 6440, and Policy Regulation 6470.01. These are for first reading. That concludes policy.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the agenda for first read of policies?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments on the policies? Okay. Finance, Ms. Case?
Good evening. We will need to take action at the next meeting for payroll and bills list, also transfer funds for September, as well as all major fund status available for September. There will be a small change order in the amount of credit just shy of $700. At the top of page 2, we will be selling or disposing of a few assets, 4 buses that are now currently out of status, so we will go ahead and try to sell those again. And then there is a chart that delineates textbooks that are outdated in 10 plus years, as well as a couple of practice workbooks for the HESPA. And then we will also be approving the fire and evacuation drills for the month of October.
Any questions or comments from the board on finance? Okay, then we'll move to public comments. relating to agenda items and additional matters. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on matters of interest to the school community. Individuals wishing to speak must state their name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes duration, but an individual may speak a second time after all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard. All statements should be directed to the board president, and no participant may address or question board members individually. All speakers are requested to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others whose legal rights may be affected. Please note, while it is not the board's intention to stifle comment on matters of legitimate concern, the public should be aware that if their statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, they may face personal liability to the injured party. If speakers are uncertain of the legal ramifications of their comments, the board urges them to seek guidance beforehand from their own legal advisor. If anyone has any comments?
Hi, my name is Abby Berg. I live in Sutton Point in Mattawa. This is my daughter Carolyn. She's a little shy tonight. But she wanted to know after the last meeting what the outcome was, because what she explained to me is that while they kind of moved around the way they do lunch, there's still not really enough time. What she explained to me was that now you go up and get your lunch, but if you want a snack to purchase, you have to wait till everybody eats, and then you can come back around, and there's not always time for that. So even though, let's say, for example, her table, maybe they're called first, so they have enough time to eat their lunch. The kids who are little, maybe at the last table, they still are not having like enough time to eat. So she was just curious, because it was mentioned that you were talking to the principal, so she's kind of curious as to like what's going on and if there's any resolution.
So I've met with Mr. Jarabek. I've spoken to him. Ms. Perez has as well. We have improved the times. We're still working on a couple of other things. So exactly what your daughter described to you doesn't happen consistently. So I know that times have improved. So we're trying to tighten down in a couple places so we can avoid exactly what your daughter just said. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I have a question.
Yep.
So my question, I guess, is in regards to planning ahead for things that may or may not happen, especially when it comes to the governor or what possible mandates might be coming down the line in regards to policy with vaccines and whatnot. I know that we obviously can't make any concrete decisions now because we don't know what's going to happen, but I'm curious as to what and if the board has any like plan Bs, because as we learned after last year, not having a plan is not a plan. It doesn't really work. And what, like, for example, what's going to happen if, just as a what if, let's say, there is a vaccine mandate, that the kids have to get vaccinated, and there is a large group of parents who decide that's not a choice that they want the school district to make for them, and a large amount of children get pulled. I don't know if people are just talking that they might do that. I know I wouldn't be able to, keep them here if that my kids don't have a medical exemption, because it's almost nearly impossible to get. But personally, my doctor has recommended against it at this point for my children because of certain health issues. So what is a plan if it's a requirement to be in the building, right? But it's not in the best interest of particular kids. Like, how are we going to educate them? I said it more than one time, I'm a horrible teacher. I'm really just not good at it. I think there's a reason why I tie-dye and write crayons and I don't teach. But what do we plan as a community? Like, what are we going to do? Or is there even something that you talk that you guys are discussing of like, okay, if this is what happens, if this is our plan, and then this is our plan, instead of going in blindly like we did, last year?
Well, first, I disagree with us going in blindly. But second, these are things that we toss around all of the time. And I think I've spoken a couple of times and I've talked about my frustration not hearing back from the DOE or the governor's office with things. So I think for something specific like you're talking about, if we have a mandate for vaccinations, which we don't currently, then I think those are discussions to have with the legislature, because ultimately, if an executive order comes down or a law comes down, as per the Constitution, we have to follow those mandates. So you know, the more people that can talk to their legislatures or the governor's office, I think, is an approach that really then everybody is being heard. That's my 2 cents, but I think about these things. In fact, the question was asked at the last meeting as well, and you know, these things go through my mind 24 hours, 7 days a week because that's where we're at, and under normal circumstances, I would be thinking about it. You know, things that could or could not happen. However, you know, I think the more communication with the local legislature or the governor's office, to me, clearly then gives them something to chew on as they're making these decisions as we go forward.
And I would agree with that too. If it's an executive order, then it's going to affect every district in the state. It's not just going to affect our district. It would be, everyone would be in the same position. So I think if we did, you know, I think the governor hearing from parents and their concerns on it, if there are concerns with it, is important. And similar to what we did in the past, you know, we could also think about that if it even comes to fruition. Like at this point, we're all just guessing what the next step is. But if it's an executive order, it will affect everyone. But I think the more voices he hears from the governor, the better.
Sure. Just as a parent and somebody who's been involved in politics, you may want to talk to your pediatrician, see if you can get the pediatricians involved as to why they don't recommend it, not necessarily specific to your child, but as a whole, because that would be a very large lobby. So, in a persuasive voice, right? So that would be my suggestion, because I think that would carry a lot of weight.
And just as a follow-up, so is the board open to having some type of a homeschool program for the kids who are not going to know it? I mean, I guess that's why I kept like asking about homeschool.
Well, I'm still looking into actually, if I can get a couple answers tomorrow, I was going to call you on Wednesday, because it's going to take a further discussion, because homeschooling if you decide to homeschool by Title 18A, that's it from a state law standpoint. So I'm waiting on a couple of, and that's an excellent question, because that's going to come out if a mandate comes out in the future, because there's already calls across the state, not for homeschooling, but for remote learning, right? So they're two totally separate things. However, as it stands right now, the remote instruction can only be done under certain circumstances, as opposed to last year. And homeschooling, if you choose to homeschool, then there is no obligation on a district, whether it's here or there or wherever that is, to do anything with that. However, you know, if you read the papers every day, there is a large group calling for remote education because of the things that you have alluded to. You know, so the answer to that is not quite clear as to what there is. You know, if the mandate comes out, we don't have any answers to that right now, which is what we've been trying to get for the last months.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Mrs. Foley, can I just say something? So the other day, you know, after the election, I sat and I had a bunch of questions because that was my concern about the mandates and all the stuff we hear. So I have all these questions and I'm writing them all down. I'm looking at them and I'm like, okay, so we can't answer this one until he answers that. And then, well, we can't answer that one until we know about this. And so it's like, I got to the end of my questions. I'm like, it's honestly so frustrating and a waste of time to even think about it, because unfortunately we don't know until the last minute. So therefore all the questions we have, we can't answer anyway. But, you know, it made me feel better to write them down, because I just was like, okay, but there's just nothing out there yet, and we're kind of in limbo, and trust me, it's on our mind. I know that for a fact.
I appreciate your candor, being open and honest about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jennifer King, Chef Cabinet. I just had 2 follow-up questions. both pertaining to Lloyd. I know there was an issue with the gym and wanted to know if the floor has been fixed. You know, I know with the weather getting colder, they're going to be inside, and just kind of curious on that. And the second one was the playground. Is there any updates on what's going on with the playground?
Good evening. So we actually have had companies come out and give us estimates, one for repair and the other for replacement. So we're just working with insurance on what the best approach is and how we'll be able to either repair or replace the floor. And as we kind of move forward, it is in a particular spot where it's not, the whole place isn't usable, so we'll be able to use it for that. And then as for the playground, we keep asking for weekly updates, and unfortunately they just keep getting delays. So now we've made it our Monday tour to ask for updates for not only Lloyd Road, but for Clipwood as well.
So just to that end, we ordered those last year, those playgrounds were ordered, before the end of last year, and I'm just as frustrated as you. I mean, we're waiting on free playgrounds amongst, unfortunately, many other things that I wish, we didn't even have to have this conversation right now, but unfortunately, we have to. We are, if nothing else, persistent in calling, like Ms. Case said, it's not one, we're not calling once just to say we can come here and say it's in some cases 2 times a day, whatever we have to do to keep advocating for our students. Yep. You're welcome.
Can I just ask one thing? What was up with the floor? Was it water damage or what happened?
It actually bubbled underneath the floor, and there's some moisture, but they can't figure out where it came from because there actually is a moisture barrier underneath. So unfortunately, since there is, they have to figure out where the water source is, and that's why we're working with insurance to figure out what the best optimal approach will be.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a roll call on action items, which are student services and policy, the first read.
Dr. Delaney?
Yes.
Ms. Friedman?
Yes.
Ms. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Montone?
Yes.
Ms. Frisora?
Yes.
Ms. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Osborne?
Yes.
Mrs. Fuller?
Yes. Any unfinished business? Any new business?
Madam President,
Oh, sorry, yes?
I would like to welcome the newest member to our exclusive club, the club being myself, Ms. Friedman, and Dr. Micah. Mr. Bombardier has finished his doctorate, or he hasn't got his degree yet, but he's approved and he's ready to go. I want to tell you a little bit about what that means. In the program I went through, I had to have 90 credits past the BA. Then you had to take those 90 credits and defend them in an oral. Then you had to write a dissertation on something. A lot of it's inane, but you're running out of topics. And after you finish and I don't mean to say that I read John's dissertation, it's pretty good. Then you have to defend everything you've written, called the defense. Well, John is at the defense, it's over with. Now he has to have his piece edited, and then he becomes Dr. Bombardier. Congratulations, John.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Any other new business? Ms. Osborne?
I just want to congratulate all those who ran in this past election. I myself, of course, a couple of other us will have to do the same thing next year. And I just want you guys to know that no matter if you win or didn't win this time, because I don't want to call you a loser, because in this world we are all winners and we're all doing community service and service of the community, which is free. So sometimes people think that we sit up here and we get stipends or a certain amount of money. We don't. Sometimes we can't even advocate for our children because we are sitting up here. So when I tell you sometimes our hands are tied and you come and sit up here, you will see exactly what we see and understand from our view. So thank you to those who have run and finished the race. And no matter the outcome, you were always a winner. So I just want to say thank you and congratulate you.
Thank you very much. Be it resolved that a closed session be convened for the purpose of discussing privacy, personnel, and legal matters. The subject matter of these discussions will be disclosed to the public when the reason for confidentiality subsides. Although the board cannot guarantee it, the length of the executive session is estimated to be 15 minutes, after which the public meeting of the board shall reconvene and proceed with business. Action will not take place. Can I get a motion and a second to enter exec session?
I'll motion.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye.